Okay, we're going to go over 9 through 13 now. If you don't have 9 through 13 done, I want you to go do them first and then come watch the screencast to check your answers. Okay, just as a recap, I'm going to list those 8 verbs that are always verbs as a reminder to myself as I work through this. Am, is, are, was, were, be, being, and been. Anytime I see these verbs, I know they're verbs. All right, Mrs. Barnacle Goose had strong opinions about the reform of other women's daughters, and so Sophronia did not want to be reformed. So I'm going to look for my prepositions first. I see about, of, to. All right, so I'm going to go look at the first one. It says about what? About the reform. So I see a modifier and a noun there. Of what? Of other women's daughters. Now it's not women because there's an apostrophe S in there. That makes this a possessive. And then to, I'm going to look at the word after it. To be, be, always a verb. And actually this whole thing is a verb phrase. To be reformed. All right, now I'm going to look for my conjunction. I see and before the and there is a comma, which makes me think that possibly this is a compound sentence, but I have to find a subject and a verb on both sides of that comma conjunction. So let's see. Mrs. Barnacle Goose had strong opinions. Okay, Mrs. Barnacle Goose is the subject. What did she do? She had. Subject and a verb so far. Sophronia did not want. Well, my subject, who it's about, is Sophronia. And my verb is actually this whole phrase, did want. Okay, and so this is compound. I found a subject and a verb on both sides of the comma conjunction. Number 10. She knew the topic of discussion was herself, so she pressed the dumbwaiter into the service of espionage. I see of and into and of. So looking for phrases, I see of what? Of discussion. Into what? Into the service. And of espionage. So I'm going to go look for my conjunction. I see so, and it's with a comma. So I'm going to check to see if there's a subject and a verb on both sides. She knew the topic was herself. Who is this about? She. And what did she do? She knew. On this side, she pressed the dumbwaiter. Who's the sentence about? She. And what did she do? She pressed. So I found a subject and a verb, comma conjunction, subject and a verb, then yes. That's compound. The dumbwaiter disagreed with the whole idea of stopping at the ground floor, and it kept going up all 4 stories. I see with and of, at, and up. So with what? With the whole idea. Goes all the way to the noun. Of stopping. Now I know that looks like a verb, but when it ends in ing, we'll talk about these later, but they're called gerunds. Of stopping. They act like nouns. At is a preposition. At what? At the ground floor. And up. Up what? Up all 4 stories. Now I'm going to look for my conjunction, and I see and. It is with a comma, which makes me think that this could be compound. So I'm going to look on the left. The dumbwaiter disagreed. And I know we've talked about dumbwaiter in classes. We've talked about this book, but that's like the elevator that old houses and Victorian houses used to have to move plates and trays up and down the stairs. So the dumbwaiter is the subject. And what did it do? It disagreed. On the other side, it says it kept going. It refers back to that dumbwaiter. It's the subject. What did it do? It kept, or kept going. And so, yes, this one is compound. Sophronia squirmed over to pull the cable, but it began to descend at an incredible pace. I see over, I see to, and at. Now, over doesn't have a noun after it, and I don't remember a preposition that was over to. So over by itself is an adverb. I have to. I have to think, is it followed by a verb? To what? To pull. That's an infinitive. To descend means to go down, so that's an infinitive. And then I've got at. At what? At an incredible pace. All right, looking for my conjunction. I see but, and it's with a comma. So I'm going to look to see, is there a subject and a verb on both sides? It says Sophronia squirmed. Sophronia is the subject. What did she do? She squirmed. It began. Remember, we're going to ignore descend. It doesn't exist right now. So it, again, refers back to that dumbwaiter. And what did it do? It began. Subject and verb, comma, conjunction, subject and verb. That's the compound sentence. And then the last one for this part, at the top of the next loading door, she dove forward and tumbled through it into the family's front parlor at Mrs. Barnacle Goose's feet. All right, I see at, of, through, into, at, and that looks like about it. All right, at what? At the top of what? Of, and I got to go all the way to the noun, of the door, of the next loading door. So that's that whole preposition there. Through what? Through it. It's a pronoun. It takes the place of the word dumbwaiter, but that's still a noun. Into what? Into the family's front parlor. A parlor was like a sitting room. And then at what? At Mrs. Barnacle Goose's feet. So we've got lots of phrases in this one. All right, I'm going to go look for my conjunction, and I see and I can tell right now that this is not going to be compound. I see a conjunction, but it does not have both a subject and a verb, or it doesn't have a comma, so it's not going to have a subject and a verb. If I look at it, the sentence, it says, she dove forward and tumbled. She is my subject. What did she do? She dove and tumbled. So I have two verbs, but this side does not have a subject. So that would not be a compound sentence. All right, I'll do one more screencast, and that'll be for the bottom half of the back.